For decades, Jackie Chan was untouchable. Loved by millions. Worshipped across Asia. A symbol of Hong Kong pride and Chinese achievement. But in 2019, with just a few words, everything changed. The fans who once cheered for him now cursed his name. The city that made him famous now wanted nothing to do with him. And the man who had survived broken bones and death-defying stunts couldn't survive the one thing he never saw coming. His own words. This is the story of how Jackie Chan betrayed an entire generation and lost everything that truly mattered. Hong Kong, 2014. The city was on fire. Not literally, but metaphorically. Hundreds of thousands of protesters flooded the streets in what became known as the Umbrella Movement. They were demanding democracy, free elections, the right to choose their own leaders without interference from mainland China. Hong Kong had been promised autonomy when Britain handed it back to China in 1997. But that promise was slowly being broken. Beijing was tightening its grip. Hong Kong's freedoms were disappearing. And the people had had enough. The world watched as students, activists, and ordinary citizens occupied major intersections. They held umbrellas to protect themselves from tear gas and pepper spray. They chanted slogans about freedom and democracy. They risked arrest, injury, and their futures to fight for the soul of their city. It was Hong Kong's most important moment in modern history. A generation was standing up and saying, "We will not be silenced." And Jackie Chan said nothing. At first, his silence was understandable. Many Hong Kong celebrities stayed quiet during the protests, afraid of angering Beijing or losing access to the lucrative Chinese market. The mainland accounted for billions of dollars in box office revenue. Speaking out against the Chinese government could end a career instantly. So many stars chose self-preservation over solidarity. But Jackie didn't just stay silent. He chose a side. And it was the wrong side. In the years leading up to the Umbrella Movement, Jackie had already been distancing himself from Hong Kong and aligning himself with mainland China. In 2009, he gave an interview at the Bo Forum in China, where he made comments that shocked Hong Kong. He said, "Chinese people need to be controlled. Otherwise, they will do whatever they want." He went on to say that too much freedom was dangerous, that Chinese people weren't ready for democracy, that authoritarian control was necessary. The backlash was immediate and severe. Hong Kongers were outraged. This was Jackie Chan, one of their own, someone who had grown up in Hong Kong's free society, someone who had benefited from Hong Kong's open culture and rule of law. And now he was saying that Chinese people needed to be controlled, that freedom was dangerous. Jackie tried to clarify his comments, saying he was misunderstood, that he was talking about the film industry, not politics. But the damage was done. Many Hong Kongers began to see Jackie not as one of them, but as a puppet of Beijing. A sellout who had traded his principles for access to the Chinese market. But Jackie doubled down. In 2012, he made more controversial statements, this time criticizing the United States. During a discussion about censorship, Jackie said, "The most corrupt country in the world is America. We talk about how corrupt Chinese are, but actually America is even more corrupt." He painted China as a victim of Western propaganda, suggesting that criticism of China's human rights record was just American hypocrisy. Again, the comments sparked fury. Critics pointed out that Jackie lived a luxurious life, enjoyed freedoms that ordinary Chinese citizens could never dream of, and had made his fortune in Hong Kong and Hollywood, both places where freedom of speech was protected. Yet here he was, defending an authoritarian regime while attacking democracies. The hypocrisy was staggering. Then came 2014 and the Umbrella Movement. Hong Kong was in crisis. Students were being tear-gassed. Protesters were being arrested. The city was divided between those who supported democracy and those who supported Beijing's control. Every celebrity's silence or statement was scrutinized. Where did they stand? Were they with Hong Kong or with Beijing? Jackie made his position clear. He criticized the protesters. He called them troublemakers. He suggested they were being manipulated by foreign forces. He echoed the exact propaganda that Beijing was spreading, the narrative that the protests were genuine expressions of Hong Kong's desire for freedom but were instead conspiracies orchestrated by the West to destabilize China. Young Hong Kongers felt betrayed. This was Jackie Chan, the man who had represented Hong Kong cinema to the world. The man whose films celebrated the underdog, the little guy fighting against impossible odds. And now he was siding with the powerful against the powerless. He was defending the government that was crushing their dreams. Social media exploded with anger. Jackie Chan is a traitor, people wrote. He sold out Hong Kong for Chinese money. He's Beijing's dog. The vitriol was intense, but it came from a place of deep disappointment. Jackie wasn't just any celebrity. He was a symbol. And symbols matter. Jackie's response to the criticism was dismissive. He said that young people didn't understand how the world worked, that they were naive and idealistic, that they would regret their protests. He positioned himself as the wise elder, the man who understood reality, while the protesters were foolish children. The condescension was infuriating. The umbrella movement eventually ended without achieving its goals. The protesters were cleared from the streets. The leaders were arrested and prosecuted. Beijing's grip on Hong Kong tightened even further, and Jackie Chan celebrated this outcome. He praised the Hong Kong police for their handling of the situation. He said order had been restored. He acted as if crushing a democratic movement was something to be proud of. But Hong Kong didn't forget. In 2019, an even larger protest movement erupted. It started with opposition to an extradition bill that would have allowed Hong Kong residents to be sent to mainland China for trial. The fear was that Beijing would use this law to arrest political dissidents, activists, and anyone who criticized the Chinese government. Hong Kong would lose its judicial independence, one of the last remaining differences between Hong Kong and the mainland. Millions of people took to the streets. This wasn't just students anymore. This was teachers, doctors, lawyers, business owners, elderly people, children. This was all of Hong Kong, united in their opposition to Beijing's control. The protests lasted for months. They turned violent as police cracked down with increasing brutality. Protesters were shot, beaten, and arrested by the thousands. The world watched in horror as one of Asia's most prosperous and free cities descended into chaos. And once again, Jackie Chan sided with Beijing. He released statements supporting the Hong Kong police. He attended events celebrating the People's Republic of China. He posted on social media with hashtags like, "I support the Hong Kong police," and "One China." He accused the protesters of being rioters and terrorists. He said they were destroying Hong Kong, that they should be punished, that they were ungrateful for everything China had given them. To the protesters, this was the ultimate betrayal. They were risking their lives for freedom. They were being shot at, tear-gassed, and beaten. And Jackie Chan, safe in his mansion, was calling them terrorists. The man who had built his career on performing death-defying stunts, on portraying heroes who stood up to injustice, was now defending the very injustice his on-screen characters would have fought against. The backlash against Jackie intensified. His films were boycotted in Hong Kong. Theaters refused to screen them. Fans burned their Jackie Chan merchandise. Online, people created memes mocking him, calling him Xi Jinping's lapdog and Beijing's puppet. The hatred was palpable. But it wasn't just Hong Kong that turned against him. International audiences started questioning Jackie too. How could they support an actor who defended authoritarianism? How could they watch his films knowing he stood against democracy and human rights? Jackie's carefully cultivated image as a lovable, humble action star began to crumble. Some defenders argued that Jackie didn't have a choice, that speaking out against Beijing would have destroyed his career, that he was just being pragmatic. But this argument doesn't hold up. Other Hong Kong celebrities chose to support the protests despite the risks. Chow Yun-fat, Anthony Wong, Denise Ho, they all spoke out in favor of democracy. They knew it would cost them access to the Chinese market. They did it anyway because they believed in something bigger than money. Jackie chose differently. He chose money. He chose access to China's billion-plus population. He chose the approval of the Communist Party, and in doing so, he lost the respect of millions. The Chinese government rewarded Jackie's loyalty. He was appointed to the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, a political advisory body. He received honors and awards from Beijing. He was invited to state events. He became one of the Communist Party's most valuable celebrity endorsers, proof that even Hong Kong's most famous son supported Beijing's vision for China. But what did Jackie really gain? Money, yes. He continued to make films in China. He continued to be celebrated on the mainland. But in Hong Kong, the city of his birth, the city that made him famous, he became a pariah. Young people spit when they hear his name. His films are remembered with asterisks. His legacy is tainted forever. In 2020, Beijing imposed the national security law on Hong Kong. This law effectively ended Hong Kong's autonomy. It criminalized any speech or activity that Beijing deemed threatening to national security. Thousands of activists were arrested. Pro-democracy newspapers were shut down. The protest leaders were imprisoned or fled into exile. Hong Kong as the world had known it ceased to exist. Jackie Chan praised the national security law. He said it would bring stability to Hong Kong. He said it was necessary to protect China's sovereignty. He parroted every piece of Beijing propaganda without question or hesitation. Meanwhile, Hong Kongers mourned. They mourned their freedom. They mourned their city. They mourned the future they had fought for and lost. And they mourned the Jackie Chan they thought they knew, the hero who stood up for the little guy, that Jackie was gone. Or maybe he had never existed at all. Looking back at Jackie's career, there are uncomfortable questions. Did he ever really believe in the underdog? Or was it all just performance? His on-screen characters fought corruption, stood up to bullies, and protected the innocent. But in real life, Jackie sided with the bullies. He defended corruption. He dismissed the innocent as troublemakers. Some argue that Jackie is a product of his generation, that he grew up poor in Hong Kong before it became prosperous, that he saw China's economic rise and believed that development was more important than democracy. There's truth to this. Jackie's worldview was shaped by his experiences of poverty and his gratitude for China's economic miracle. He genuinely believes that authoritarian control has been good for China. But belief doesn't excuse complicity. Jackie wasn't just expressing his opinion. He was actively supporting a government that was crushing dissent, imprisoning activists, and erasing freedoms. He used his platform and his fame to legitimize oppression. That's not just a difference of opinion. That's a moral failure. Today, Jackie Chan is still making films. He still attends events in China. He still posts on social media praising the Communist Party. But his international appeal has diminished. His Hollywood career is essentially over. Western studios are wary of associating with him. Audiences are uncomfortable watching someone who has taken such problematic political stances. In Hong Kong, his name is synonymous with betrayal. The city that once celebrated him now treats him as a cautionary tale. Young people use his name as an insult. Don't be a Jackie Chan means don't sell out your principles for money. Don't betray your people for power. Jackie will never acknowledge that he made the wrong choice. He's too invested in his position. Admitting error would mean admitting that he sacrificed his integrity for nothing. So he continues to defend his stance, to justify his support for Beijing, to pretend that history will vindicate him. But history is written by the people. And the people of Hong Kong have already written their verdict. Jackie Chan, the man who became a global icon by portraying heroes, became a villain in real life. The man who built a legacy on courage showed cowardice when it mattered most. The man who made audiences believe in justice sided with injustice when given the choice. This is not a story about politics. This is a story about character, about what you do when your principles are tested, about whether you stand up or sell out. Jackie Chan had every opportunity to use his platform for good. He could have stayed silent. He could have expressed nuanced views. He could have shown compassion for young people fighting for their future. Instead, he chose power over people. He chose Beijing over Hong Kong. He chose his bank account over his legacy. And in doing so, he lost the one thing that made him special, the love of his fans. Jackie Chan didn't lose everything overnight because of China. He lost everything overnight because of Jackie Chan. Because when it mattered most, when his city needed a hero, Jackie chose to be a villain. And some betrayals can never be forgiven.